In an unexpected move that shocked the NFL landscape earlier this week, the Green Bay Packers released one of their star defensive players, cornerback Jaire Alexander. While the initial assumption was that the team would stretch his hefty dead cap hit across multiple years, the Packers took a more daring approach, placing the entire $17.04 million dead cap hit on their 2025 salary cap. This move has left fans and analysts alike scrambling to understand the team's future plans and the reasoning behind this decision. When the Packers released Alexander, the expectation was that they would use his post-June 1 designation to minimize immediate cap damage. Under normal circumstances, the Packers could have split the financial burden over 2 years, easing the pressure on their cap space in the short term. Instead, they opted to take the full brunt of the financial hit in 2025, a decision that could have major implications on the team's long-term financial flexibility. General Manager Brian Gutekunst addressed the situation Tuesday, speaking candidly about the team's reasoning behind the decision. "Over the last 4 years, there's been a lot of games missed," Gutekunst said, via Matt Schneidman of The Athletic. "I just think for what that amount of money is, I think that's a lot to pay for a guy who hasn't been able to get on the field. Again, it's not his fault. It's just something that kind of transpired, so we just kind of were looking for something different." Those words, though measured, carried the weight of years of frustration with a player who has simply been unable to stay healthy. Since entering the league, Alexander has been plagued by injuries that have sidelined him for nearly a quarter of his career. The 2023 and 2024 seasons in particular were a nightmare for both Alexander and the Packers' defensive unit. Shoulder and knee injuries, coupled with a 1-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the team, limited him to just 7 games in 2023. A PCL surgery in 2024 sidelined him for a further 10 games, leaving the Packers' secondary in disarray during a critical period. But the injury woes aren't just a recent problem. Alexander has missed 38 games in his 7-year career, a staggering number for a player of his caliber. His absence on the field during crucial moments has been felt deeply by the Packers, and it's clear that Gutekunst and the front office were finally ready to make a change. With Alexander's playing time dipping below 32% of the defensive snaps in 3 of the past 4 seasons, the writing was on the wall. The Packers simply couldn't justify paying him $17 million to continue to miss significant chunks of time. Despite his injury struggles, Alexander was still a highly regarded cornerback when healthy. The Packers did offer him a restructured contract in an effort to keep him around at a lower cost. They also explored trade options, including reportedly engaging with the Buffalo Bills before the NFL draft. However, the sticking point came when Alexander refused to agree to a pay cut. That left the Packers with little choice but to part ways with their once promising star, despite his potential when fully healthy. The Packers' decision to part with Alexander may have come as a surprise, but in hindsight, it makes sense. Gutekunst's words further emphasized that the Packers had attempted to make it work for years, but the injuries simply kept piling up. "I think obviously we've done that the past few years and it hasn't really worked out for us," Gutekunst admitted. "I think as we went through it, we went through a lot of different angles that might be right for the club, and this is kind of where we ended up. Again, it was no bad blood. It was just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years, it hasn't worked out exactly like we'd wanted to, through no fault of anybody. Just the injuries kind of took some games away from him." The Packers may have said goodbye to Alexander, but they're far from rebuilding. With the financial flexibility they've gained and the core they still possess, the team is poised to make moves in the coming seasons. It's clear that Gutekunst's focus is on long-term success, and this release could very well signal the beginning of the next chapter in Green Bay's storied history. As the 2025 season looms large, all eyes will be on how the Packers navigate their cap situation and whether their decision to part ways with Jaire Alexander will ultimately pay off in the form of a stronger, healthier team. In the high-stakes world of NFL salary cap management, sometimes you have to take a step back before you can leap forward, and that's exactly what Green Bay is hoping to do.